This is Chris from Astrafuse. I'm here with my team in Austin. They came down for the weekend. We're doing this amazing podcast together to talk about what we do and why we do it. We're a lead generation business. I've been connected to the performance marketing industry for 20 years. We started this business out of necessity after a former company went out of business, unfortunately. But we're here to build a company and help businesses drive more revenue through online advertising. We do all this stuff that people need to do. We do the work that needs to be done to drive online customers to your business. So we help you grow revenue with online advertising.
How would you summarize Astrafuse and what we do?
The easiest thing to say is we are a lead generation company.
Yeah.
And we aim to serve companies in home services and solar businesses. Solar being our flagship offer or industry, but home services, right?
Yeah, home services is a big part of what we do. You know, we kind of chose the home services industry because it's just a huge industry. You know, it's a $200 billion industry. It's pretty evergreen. You
200 billion.
Yeah,
A lot of zeros.
Yeah, I figure even if you get a small part of that, it's still, you know, several millions. I'd be okay with that. Yeah. Let's kind of start this off by what we offer clients. So what is the big value added proposition to working with us versus working with some other different kinds of companies?
You want to take that one, Kenny?
Yeah, I would say one of the big ones is some people call it a white glove, service, concierge service. We've got a lot of history with working one-on-one, case-by-case basis with companies in order to, find out what their needs are, what their pain points are, solving those pain points, and basically turning those into profits. Turn those into leads that back out for them so they can get more sales.
One of the things that we've really heard is that we help people make a lot of money, but also be responsible for less. We kind of take over the role of marketing and advertising, which is a huge part of any business. I mean, lead generation is essential, and without lead generation, you don't make sales. So, we provide that, and I think a lot of people, they don't even realize kind of how difficult the advertising landscape really is. We test hundreds of ads every single day.
I mean, you could argue we've done thousands of ads over time, right?
Oh yeah. Well, and we've managed, millions of dollars worth of advertising spend.
You mentioned something that triggered memory for me is that, we have a lot of experience between us that, like, I have construction background. I also have technical background. You have media background, online advertising, marketing. And this is before we even got into lead gen or affiliate networking stuff. You have a huge technical background for optimizing, getting leads coming in, getting traffic, making it easy for customers and clients to find these installers, to find the people that are, where they want to spend their money.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I think that helps out a lot.
Well, and that kind of follows into a really good point as well. And that's like, there are a lot of really big hurdles that we face in the industry. We just see a lot of low quality, kind of bogus leads that have kind of tainted a space and made it kind of difficult for businesses to succeed. There's a lot of hurdles out there.
I think we should pick on that a bit more. So if you are talking about the problems that plague the industry, so what else, Jerry, would you say is plaguing the industry in lead gen?
Just people not delivering what they promise, right? So it's like you see a lot of bogus leads. You see companies that multi-sell leads, which kind of leads to lower quality for a lot of these companies that we work with. One of the big things that our clients really want from us are exclusive leads of people who are actively interested in a service. But a lot of these companies that we see, they just kind of pass off leads willy-nilly. You never really know where the leads come from, how they're operating, what ads they're running. There's a lot of factors that go into successfully navigating the customer space that a lot of companies might not even consider, like compliance. There's a lot of legality that goes along with buying leads, even so far as when the customer submits their information for, to be contacted. The company's got to be, verifying the intent of the user, and then making sure the TCPA is valid, and providing trusted form of Jernaya to avoid any legalities that come along with, telecommunications.
Yeah, I think we make it, a big thing is we make it easy for the companies and the clients that we work with to hand off a lot of the hard stuff. You know, like you said, we do TCPA compliance. We have the TCPA verbiage on the page to make sure it's, you know, on the page where it's supposed to be, the right format. You know, we handle a lot, if not all of that on our side to make sure that the leads are compliant, because we want to avoid, you know, legal issues. We don't want to cause problems for ourselves. We definitely don't want to cause problems for the, you know, our clients. And that's something that a lot of our clients over the years have, you know, given us feedback and shown a lot of appreciation. We do go above and beyond. You know, if there's any changes to compliance things, like the TCPA language, we reach out and we're like, hey, there's a change coming. We want to make sure that if you're whitelisting it, if you're filtering the leads, if you're doing any of this, this is going to be the edit. This is going to be when we go live with it. So we make the compliance easier for them. They can offload a lot of that worry. Now, everybody's still going to have worry because, you know, they want to make sure they're not setting themselves up for, you know, any kind of pain. But, you know, like I said, we've had a lot of feedback where people say they like the way we handle stuff, and we just make it easy for them.
Yeah, and I think another thing to pick on here is like TCPA, that really covers things like auto dialers, you know, these phone systems, these big call centers that are just dialing numbers all day long. That's what Jornaya and Lead ID will save you. Like that ecosystem, their products built for those companies. I mean, what's to stop you from just going to the white pages and dialing in the phone book? There are still companies that operate that way, and they're hugely successful. But the big thing that changes what we do when we provide you leads, these are customers that say, yes, I want to be called. I want a quote. Please call me. So the initial intent is there versus somebody being called and they have no clue why you're calling them. Like, I'm resistant to those calls. Like, I just shut down.
Oh, I think everybody is. Honestly, we all get so much spam and just kind of bullshit, you know, calls all the time. It just really kind of makes it tough for a lot of these companies that, you know, at the end of the day, like a call center is a person in a chair making a call. You've got expenses every step down the line, and that's one of those things that you really have to think of. And that honestly leads into something I was talking about with Kenny the other day. I'm on all these groups on Facebook, and, you know, they're talking about the services they provide, kind of what they offer people. And one of the posts that I saw was they were like we have 8 million age data leads.
Yeah.
And we're like, you know, where did they get the data? Like,
Right.
That's a lot of leads.
Yeah, that's a population for like some states.
So like, how do you?
And to some, you know, companies, they might think, oh, cool, there's a lot of potential there. Well, there is, but there's also a lot more potential to have legal issues, to have blowback, to have pushback, to have slapstick lawsuits where, you know, some lawyers or attorneys, whatever, they'll seed those leads hoping for a call that's not compliant, and they jump on it.
Yeah.
You know, so the way we do things is we do go above and beyond, because, I mean, like, I think it was yesterday, the day before, you mentioned that, you know, 8, a huge number, and I'm just like, my first thought was, why?
Yeah.
How? You know, like, for compliance reasons and just the headache it's going to bring. I was sitting there going, you know, yeah, that sounds great. You know, it'd be nice to have, you know, a couple of pennies on every one of that, or $1 on every one of that. But, you know, the history that we've seen, we've heard of the horror stories, like, we avoid a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, email's the same, right? So like if you're doing email marketing, just because you have 100 million emails, sure, like that's impressive, but it doesn't mean you're going to make like you're not going to make fistfuls of money. You're going to have a lot of canned spam, compliant issues. You're going to have a lot of spam filtering. DSPs are going to block you, but the same thing goes for phone numbers, right?
Well, how much is each violation, right? I think it's like $10,000 a violation or something like that. So say you have a successful campaign and you've made sales, well, that takes right away from your ROI.
Yeah.
You know, and not to say like you don't want to be on any of those lists in the first place, you know. Oh yeah, there's a cricket over there.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's party of 4. We forgot to introduce our noisy
Cricket, Jiminy over there. Yeah.
noisy friend, Jiminy.
Yeah, Jiminy. We got to decide which one of us was Pinocchio. I vote Kenny.
I'm good with it. You're closest.
Yeah, I vote Kenny.
I'll think about it if he keeps going. I don't know if we want to get in the weeds too much, but for a lot of these companies, when I say companies, I mean the installers, the construction companies, the guys that have been around in the home improvement space for a long time, they've heard horror stories, let alone how many of them have actually been through it. Like, they've been burned by leads. They've been burned by, you know, bad leads by... I'm going to take care of that real quick. You want to hit stop?
No.
That's fair. They can just record me doing it.
Stomp that.
Put it on YouTube.
Yeah. So what Kenny's saying about these buyers that have been burned with these lists. The other thing too, you mentioned Facebook and this conversation. I haven't really thought about this until now, but there's a Facebook group out there just for solar age leads, and then there's a site for solar age leads. You have no idea where that list came from. And with the new TCPA rules, you can't auto dial it.
No.
You have to be super cautious if you're going to call those lists. Like, where's the consent? Like, where
It's just a money cash grab at the end of the day.
For sure.
You know, they're just trying to get you to spend that initial money, but we're not really about that kind of business. We want, you know, long-term clients who see real value and work with us to make, you know, millions of dollars, not like $1,000 here or there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a couple grand and then you burn a bridge. That's it. It stops.
Yeah.
You got to go find the next one or build the next bridge. Like, build that bridge, build that relationship with a good foundation. You know, make sure everybody's on the same page as far as expectations, as far as, you know, I don't know if we want to talk about, you know, like the onboarding process. You know, make sure that we know what you're going to do, you know how we're going to function. That way there's less surprises down the road. You know, there's less friction down the road. So to me, that's one of the things that I enjoy is getting that stuff figured out. It's like, oh, you function this way. You require, you know, your leads to be exclusive. Okay, we do that. We sell them, you know, once. Here you go. You know, I've been on the other side of that, like where you're calling a lead or you're knocking on a door, you know, and they're like, they open the door and they're just like, hey, go away. And that's face to face.
Or they don't answer.
Yeah. And I'm like, you said you wanted me to show up here.
Yeah.
Or, you know, hey, you told me to call you. You know, it's like, oh, I've already talked to 10 people, you know, 10 roofers, 10 solar installers, 10, you know, gutter guys, whatever it is. You know, that gets old. It's nice to show up and somebody's like, oh, hey, yeah, nice.
You know
thanks for coming back.
That is a good point. The industries we work in, solar, roofing, windows, gutters, water filtration, home security, you know, any of these verticals, they're all very competitive industries.
Yeah.
And you deal with a lot of companies in the space that if you really don't have the upper hand, a way to get leads that is not only profitable, but sustainable and scalable, you're not really going to accomplish anything but mediocrity in the space.
Yep.
And I think, you know, we talked a little bit in the beginning about kind of what we do and how we do it. I think, you know, we should really highlight, you know, 5 or 10 points that we really can offer clients. And one of those is, you know, reliable scalability. As long as the metrics back out for our media buy teams, we really can scale campaigns up to really high levels, do thousands, 2,000, 3,000 leads a day with the right metrics, the right budget. And obviously it takes a long time to get to those points, but you know, you have that list of 8 million leads, like even at a couple thousand leads a day, that takes quite a bit to get there. But at least those leads that we're generating are actively engaged, right? Another important thing to talk about what we kind of offer people is the technology, right? We offer them a lot of things that cost a lot of money to implement on like a corporate scale.
Yeah.
You know, and all they have to handle is their end of the bargain, and that's, you know, managing their call centers, optimizing their processes, providing us dispositions on the lead to make sure that, you know, everything's working out on their end. But Chris, can you kind of walk through a little bit of the technology that you've implemented to help these people optimize in ways that they probably didn't even consider? Like, I guess it started out with the proprietary fraud points that you monitor on traffic. I mean, you can catch bad actors before they even start.
Yeah, so the big problem in our space, I would say it's like the elephant in the room. Anybody that's buying leads, especially from companies like ours, it's very hard to know that you had a human body filling out the form. There are a lot of tools out there that make it easier to prove that it had to be somebody, like a person had to do it. So on top of things like Active Prospects, Trusted Form, or Jornaya, we have our own internal tools that monitor for things like automated submissions, or, you know, people that are hopping around on ISPs. Like we have technologies that, or I should say we have a technology that monitors 50 or more, probably like closer to 75 different data points about the device and where these leads are coming from. The second we smell anything funny, we find ways to mitigate that and cut that off. So, I like any company, we have to recruit new media buyers. We have to give people a chance. On occasion, you get a bad apple, and there's nothing you can do. But the first thing we do is we cut off that traffic source, and we start working towards credits because we wouldn't want to pay for those leads. So why would we expect our customers to?
And I would even argue that it's even more effective than some of the other fraud softwares out there. For example, Anura. I mean, you could go buy an age data lead, punch those leads into a form, and unless they monitor everything that you monitor, those leads could still get through because they're valid phone numbers, valid emails,
Yep.
valid addresses.
Yep.
But the reality of the situation is, unless the traffic is coming from a page that you monitor, which is another elephant in the room we'll probably have to address, and that's why third-party companies aren't as valuable as a company like ourselves that drives leads from our own pages. But unless you control the traffic to the page, there's a lot of variables that are completely out of your control.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah, when we bring those in-house, we control them. And we didn't always do it early on years ago, but we learned by not having control or even just visibility, it makes it easier for the bad actors to do bad stuff, to send fake leads.
Well,
so by bringing that in-house, and not just the technology, which is huge, but also the way, I mean, Jerry, how strict are you with the onboarding process, and how few people do we actually allow to work with us and send us leads? Like, I feel
That's
like
a great question.
yeah, I feel like, to me, that's the big first vetting, and like the way we present ourselves to these people that are wanting to send us traffic is basically a good pre-vetting before the technology even takes place. Like, we say, we don't allow you to do this, we don't allow you to do this, we want this kind of traffic, we want it to work, we have history of big numbers, just send quality stuff. Yeah, you're going to test different stuff, but if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Well, I think the first thing that we should talk about, we throw around a lot of terminology that people might not understand. When we say that, first off, like let's back up a little bit. A third party company is a company that doesn't drive traffic to their page. They just buy leads from other people, right?
Already customer data that's already been entered on a form.
Yeah.
And sold to an intermediary or a middleman.
Yeah, but you don't know how any of those ads are generated. You don't know where the traffic comes from. It could be very cheap traffic. It could be age traffic. We mentioned age leads that people punch into forms. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
So can you kind of go through the process of how these companies are taking advantage of hardworking businessmen and women all over the space?
Yeah. I mean, you just mentioned like the 8 million age leads. I mean, the thing is, we have technology, we have the hands-on personal touch where we try to vet a lot of that stuff and clean it up as much as we can. Well, bad actors will go out there and they'll use VPNs, they'll use other technology, they'll use things to try to take those lists, like you said, and they can automate a lot of it. Some people we hear and we come across and we see from, we hear second, third hand where it really seems like, based on what our technology tells us, like they're skipping around the world at different, technical nodes, whatever it is, entering that data as if they're a customer in LA one minute, and then, New York the next minute, and San Antonio, and blah, 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 and all these other places, entering this data and thinking, oh, I've got a list of 800,000 leads that I just bought, that who know where they, do they even know where they came from?
Well, I
Just,
mean, we charge
popular.
a premium, right? So we charge it like, anywhere from $20 to $100 for a lead, but that's because our leads back out at a consistent rate. Like, we're talking 15 to 20% appointment rates.
Yeah.
Well, when you've got these people that are just punching in data, like, those leads are worth pennies on the dollar.
Right. Yeah. So our way of doing things, our minimum level of quality, raises that bar, and it raises the bar on the pricing a little bit, and that's good. And as a business owner, as anybody that's working leads, like, everybody we talk to says we're willing to pay good money for the good leads.
Well, quality
and
don't
do.
come cheap, right?
Right. Well, exactly, because it's we're vetting out a lot of that stuff. We're filtering out a lot of that bloat. That, so the more we can do on our side, the less our buyers of the leads have to do.
Yeah, make more money, but be responsible for less. Like, that's a huge value-added proposition for a lot of companies, especially the companies that we want to work with. Can you kind of go through what we would consider the ideal client profile for somebody who's looking to buy leads from Astrafuse?
Yeah, who's our best customer, Kenny? I
So-
love this question.
So to me, the best customer for us is going to be someone that does have the ability to make calls, to make contact the actual customers. Obviously, we want at least, I don't know, 3 to 5 people in the call center, at least, if not more. Some companies we work with have 50 to 60 man call centers, and they're used to turning and burning, and that's great. Other ones are direct installers, and they're calling anywhere from 20 to 50 total calls a day or total leads a day, and that's good too. But if the setting the expectations is what's going to help people work out long term. So I feel like kind of the best fit for us are people that are understanding that they're going to have to contact the leads. They're going to have to, that you're going to get every once in a while some tire kickers that are just, shopping around. That's part of that, I think you said it was like 18 to 25%, 20 to 25% of our leads turn into appointments.
Well, and the contact rate on those is
Yeah.
in the 50,
I was gonna say
60 percentile.
Yeah, 50 to
so
60%. So, and that's a good number. Like most people start off buying, and that's another thing for kind of the optimal, buyers starting out. We want to start out relatively low or, kind of middle ground to make sure that everything's tuned and working. So if your expectations are that, you're going to buy 10 to 25 leads a day for a few days, make sure it's working out. You're calling the leads, you're getting feedback, you're getting, oh yeah, I did sign up for that.
calling the leads right away.
Yes, that's
like,
a big
making
thing.
sure that the leads don't
Right.
sit around.
Yeah,
and
you need to be ready. You need to have your processes in place to call them. Like our leads are real time, live, original, generated from our entities.
Can you kind of share some horror stories of clients that we've had that maybe didn't touch the leads right away? What was that? The one company that didn't have us integrated correctly and only reached out on half of the leads?
Yeah, I think they said like 50 to 60, just say 50%. I'm not sure exactly what the number is. Like something on their side, they had the call centers. We'd worked with them for a while, and they were like, these leads are working, but we're getting better numbers over here. Leads are working, but we're getting better numbers.
And
then all of a sudden,
to clarify here, the numbers from other people over there, those are other clients that we worked with as well.
Yes, exactly.
That were already selling them leads as a third party entity, which we mentioned earlier
Yep.
is
And-
less control. So they probably didn't even catch those issues
Exactly.
until we brought it up.
Yeah. So us, I mean, we're problem solvers. We're gonna work with you if there's an issue, or even if there's not an issue. Like I say it every day. I hate leaving money on the table. I hate leaving potential on the table.
Well,
And
why?
one of the things
Why was it left on the table though?
they didn't have on their side, they didn't have their system or their call center set up to actually answer or even ingest all of our leads to their call center. So 40-50% of the leads weren't even getting contacted.
And we were still competitive
Exactly.
on the numbers,
Exactly.
but they weren't contacting half of them.
Yeah, and it took a little bit to figure that out because it's like, well, he reached out and he goes, hey guys, I want to talk, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, okay, great. We're seeing better performance. We're seeing better, contact rates, appointment rates, sales rates with all of our other clients. Like, this doesn't make sense, and the pushback isn't, no, you're wrong. It's something's not right. Is it on your side? Is it on our side? I want to jump on a call. I want to do a screen share. Bring your tech guy, bring your CEO. I don't care. Bring them all to the table.
And look at the data.
Figure out where the disconnect is, because there's clearly a disconnect. Like if we have, I think at any given point we have 20 to 40 buyers, clients that are buying at any given point. And if, the mass majority of those guys are saying, hey, we're getting this level of performance, and all of a sudden we have somebody else is down here, well, why?
Yeah.
Did I set something up wrong? Did I forget to, enter a 1 instead of a 2 or a 0, whatever it is? So anyway, so we wound up getting pushed a little bit, because at first he was just like, hey, this isn't working. And we're like, okay, well, why? Let's look at look at the lead that comes in. Where does it go? That one went to a person, one of your call center agents. Great. What's the next lead? What's the next lead? Spot check. And all of a sudden, we found a couple things he was going to optimize. And then I believe after the call, we were like, okay, you're going to work on this. You're going to look into this with your dev team. We're going to look here. And was it 10, 20, maybe 30 minutes? We got an email saying, oh, guys, appreciate the call. We just realized that like 40-50% of your leads weren't even being worked.
What do you call it? The oh shit moment. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I spent this $27,000.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the biggest, if there's one thing that we could optimize on that whole situation, is helping him understand that beforehand. But like, we don't control people's communication. So like,
Yeah.
I would say the best clients that we work with to kind of accentuate what you're talking about here is communication. So like,
Yeah.
I think our number one goal is communication. There are, I would say, some technical things that we require of these people, but we do a lot of that setup heavy work for them. You know,
Yeah.
there's not any, we don't charge any additional costs for our man hours. We understand that over time with good business, you make those margins with people. You don't have to gouge them for a monthly fee or charge them up front to set up costs. And I think sometimes some clients, they're like, how does that even work? How do you make that profitable? And it's a volume game. It's not
Exactly.
It's not a quick cash grab. You know,
Yeah.
it's not. We don't just sell you a lead and say, you know, good luck, you know, and kick you out the door. We actually work with our clients to find those you know, scalable moments. Kenny, what is another thing that you think is important for our clients to be?
So a lot of it is the setting the expectations. And just to go back just a second, you know, some of our best clients, when we're talking to them on the initial sales call, you know, to figure out, are we a good fit for you? Are you a good fit for us? You know, we tell them how we do things. We try to do things a little bit different. We've talked to hundreds of businesses and brought, you know, people on board. And some of our best clients are the ones that are like, hey, I've already been burned by guys like you. And we're like, you've been burned. I get it. We hear this horror stories a lot, but not by guys like us. We do try to do things differently. We hold ourselves to a higher level of accountability. We want this to work out long term. And like you mentioned, and I know you just said a couple days ago, we talked to somebody and we're like, you know, we don't charge for the setup fee. You know, some places they'll charge 5, 10, depending on what they're doing, you know, even more, thousands of dollars just to get onboarded. And like we've honed our onboarding expectations, our flow, how we not even the customers, but just the our clients that are buying our leads. We have a set, like it's going to look like this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. Get you on board, and when they get on board, they're like, "That was really easy. We appreciate that."
Yeah.
And we're telling them, you know, you're going to pay per lead. You're going to set the pricing. We will give you the feedback. Like this is what the pricing looks like for what, you know, some of the other buyers are doing. This is what it looks like in this market. Not every market's the same. And when we give that individual feedback on pricing, on how to set things up, or just getting them on board, like we get a lot of feedback of like, hey, thanks, that was easy.
Well, Chris, you call it, what's your term for it? Extreme ownership?
Yeah, it's funny. I just wrote that down. So extreme ownership. You know, anytime there's been an issue, good or bad, right? Like even the wins. Like we approach all of these situations with a lot of curiosity. We leave ego at the door, and we really explore the problem. Not your problems are like trying to place blame, but we really want to solve the problem, whether that is our responsibility to do something on our side, or maybe we can provide additional like expertise to the client.
Well, and that goes into everything that you've built, right? It's to kind of give us tools. We're small. We're like the ant, you know. Let's move a rubber tree plant, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, can you kind of go into a little bit more about kind of that philosophy on our end?
About the automation and just how we tackle.
How we take ownership of what we're doing and empower everybody that we work with to kind of do the same.
Yeah, so when we started Astrafuse, it was part of like my core mission with you all is to make sure there was transparency and I could empower the people that are working around me. We're a team. Like we can only do so much ourselves, and we have to rely on each other to watch everybody's six, right? So Jerry, you're great at watching metrics and making sure that they're performing.
Well, even this morning I was putting together a zip list and you were like, Jerry, we got to go. We got to get this done. We got to get this conversation on the books. And I'm like, no, Chris.
He's like, well, let me finish this, you know, this little bit of stuff here, I can feed it to the media buyers and they can be making money and making leads while we're doing this.
Make the magic happen.
Yeah. So back to your point, Jerry, I know that we have to have transparency. We have to have accountability. But I can't expect you guys to do the best you can do unless we can provide you with the best tools. And whether I have to build that myself or we just buy the tool, like RedTrack, right? We were trying to do a bunch of stuff ourselves just using Everflow. Me having a technical background thinking, oh, I'm going to CTO this problem. No. It was way cheaper just to buy the tool, right? And there is a time and place to build.
Visibility too, a lot of
Yeah.
visibility that we just didn't have. And,
Yeah.
it tie everything back together. Like, we provide that visibility and that lifeline kind of that these people need to be truly successful in the space.
Yeah.
Right? Whether you're a media buyer or a lead buyer, there's certain things that you need to have, and there's a big middle step, unfortunately, that a lot of people don't understand. Like, from my perspective, doing both business development and the actual advertising on the other end, like, people just think that they can just set up shop, get a couple of people to buy leads, and wow, we're off to the races, and that's how it works.
Set it and forget it mentality. And
it just doesn't work like that.
We see that failing around us a lot in this industry. I mean, we've been around long enough. We've seen, I don't even know how many companies, just it doesn't work for them.
Yeah,
And
we let companies be responsible for less by taking some of that ownership on our own shoulders.
Yeah, the technology that Chris has set up and organized in a way, I know for me specifically, and I know for you too, because we work so close together, like, I'm a problem solver. Like, if Jerry's on the front line looking at the reports, looking at the quality, looking at the numbers every day, and he's like, hey, something's not right. He waves that big old red flag and he's like, hey guys, let's jump on a call, let's figure this out, what's going on. And a lot of times we find stuff that we can optimize, even if it's not a problem. It's still money that's on the table. It's opportunity that's on the table that's not being utilized. And if we're not utilizing it, then it's not being utilized and it's not backing out to money in our clients' pockets.
Yeah.
Because if it works for them, we can make it work for them, it's going to work for us, and then you got a win-win.
Yeah, we're the literal definition of a field of dreams. We build it and the money comes, so that's an important thing to think about. And Chris, just at kind of a high level, you talked a little bit about how we've taken on new tools, we build new things, and not we build new things, you build new things, but can you kind of walk us through at a very high level, what are some of the bells and whistles that we offer lead buyers and media buyers that a lot of places just don't know? And make sure we don't give away any of our trade secrets here.
Of
But,
course.
Can you go into that a little bit?
Let's start with the lead buyers, our clients. At the end of the day, we really have a marketplace. The advertisers are the lead buyers that come into our ecosystem. They're participating in a marketplace. The highest bid wins, right? But every buyer, every company has a different way of operating their sales programs. They want to buy leads at a fixed price, or maybe they only have a fixed budget, right? We have the flexibility to entertain both payment model, not really payment model, but both ways of managing budget. So if you just have a fixed budget and you want to try lead gen out with us, we can do that.
Yeah.
If your call center is only online for specific days, we can day part, we can schedule those leads. If you only want a fixed number of leads per day, which sales is a numbers game, so you really don't want to go too low, but you do want to find that sweet spot to do a sample run, we can do that as well. We can cap it by hour, by day. I think the other thing here too is it's not just about the control that we give to a lead buyer, but it's the transparency in our data. Like, you guys found that issue with this buyer. I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about, but you guys would have only found those problems with access to the data that we have. It's like you're getting leads, right? Like,
Well, and they didn't even give us access to their platform, so we didn't actually know anything other than what they provided us.
Yeah.
And we didn't actually get that data until we pretty much pried it out of their hands.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't a negative situation. It was like he's just coming to us going, guys, this doesn't work.
Well,
We're like,
that's a good
those numbers
thing.
aren't going to work for you.
we have a great candor with a lot of our clients. We're personable guys. I send memes and gifts to everybody, right? Like, let's be fair here. Without that kind of relationship, without us hitting them up with emails, and to be fair, Kenny, we are kind of annoying sometimes with the data that we request from people. But like, this is a large buyer in 5 or 6 states, and we're helping them optimize their campaigns.
Yeah.
And they're not even looking at them. They're just like, well, it's not working at the same rate as other clients. Well, why isn't it working?
Yeah.
And I would say, Kenny, just, we work with clients on both ping post and direct post, and each of those kind of has their own struggles and challenges.
Yeah. They're each nuanced in their own way.
But like the reality of the situation is, we're only as good as the data that other people give us.
Yeah, and the feedback is we're not making direct contact with these customers. Like they are filling out a form that says, yeah, I want to be contacted for solar. Yeah, I want to be contacted for a new roof, for new gutters. X number of things, and we pass those in real time as quick as we can to the buyers.
Yeah.
So the quicker that they can get on the call with them, the quicker they're going to be making money and making sales. But 50% of those leads, they don't even know we're there. Like,
How do we fix
Yeah,
that? And they are on direct post, right?
Yep.
So, Chris, can you kind of walk us through the advantages of each of those types of the lead delivery?
Yes.
Kind of how we can help people with that.
I wrote that down too. Direct post versus ping post. So this is a great question. If you're in the space, you just know. You know what you're signing up for when you do one or the other. But for somebody that's not really active in the lead gen space, they want leads, they're buying leads. How do you integrate with a lead buyer with Astrafuse? So ping post and direct post, really the only true difference between those two models will have to do with how you set up your budgets and who's managing your budgets. With a direct post, you could do dynamic pricing, but it's typically, we just don't allow it to work that way because we won't know what your prices are unless you tell us upfront when the lead comes in. So a ping post puts the control on pricing and availability on your side. So if we approach any integration with a lead buyer on a ping post, what we're really saying is we're passing the responsibility of control of ingesting leads, like how often, for how much. You get a lot of dynamic variables that are completely in your control, and a lot
because some clients want that. Like they require that. They want that control.
Yep.
Yeah.
Direct post, you just don't have as much control. You do have you can still reject a lead, but you're really not going to control your budgets as much. You won't control where you're buying leads. Like we have to have deeper discussions. Ideally, a direct post buyer, we would have a deep dive on like where are your markets at? What states are you buying? Where can you serve?
Yeah, and it requires, for best optimization, it requires more contact more often and more regularly, which is fine. We're all for, but
Can you kind of discuss what the specific reasons that, like the benefits of each type of lead, right? So maybe ping post, you can filter out more duplicates. You can filter out different variables.
yeah,
Whereas direct post, you kind of have to say, this is what we want every single time. But it also has its own set of advantages, right? So, can you guys kind of go into that a little bit?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that will distinguish ping post versus direct post in that context, Jerry, is control. So if you're on direct post with us, it doesn't mean you're not in control, but you don't have the mechanisms on your side to control every aspect of that delivery. It means that we have to take more responsibility to ensure you get the leads that you want and that are performing the best.
Yeah, quantity, location, pricing, all that stuff.
Yeah, even total budget, right? So, and we happily do that for our clients. It's not a problem. It's just there might be a delay. Where as a ping post, if you're savvy enough with the tools that are out there for a ping post, you can make the change like that and it's done. And it automatically will have an impact on your participation in the marketplaces. But, there's a cost like for that software. Like we happily play that role if you don't want to pay for the technology. We do have the technology, so in a sense, borrow what we have.
And if you want to jump right in, I would say direct post is usually the easiest option for companies.
For sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
And honestly, it's the easiest for us to plan with our media buyers as well.
Yeah.
Because we can give them, hey, we need leads in this region. Hey, we need them at this price. They drive the traffic to our pages from Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all these platforms that a lot of people, like I know a lot of media buyers, guys. I would be honest with you, a lot of media buyers, they only really focus on one or two types of traffic. And the same is true for these large companies. You've got emailers, you've got, people who do pops and push traffic, which kind of a forgotten art these days. But then in addition, like people see Google ads and they're like, well, let's just go run a search campaign. Guys, it's not easy. It's not something you just go into without spending a lot of money. And even for these large companies, like how much do you think? I heard a statistic one time that hiring a single employee, no matter what position they're in, is a 6-figure hire. It's a 6-figure cost, especially in today's economy, right?
Oh,
because you
big
got to pay
investment.
salaries.
Yeah.
You've got other employees working on training those people. It takes away from time that they can do their things.
Yep.
So if you consider all of that, like and understanding the cogs in the wheel, there's a lot of value that we offer.
Yeah.
Clients.
Our clients have been offloading a lot of that to us for a decade now.
Well, yeah, and if they don't get any leads, well, no problem.
Yeah.
If there's an issue.
Yeah, that's what we're doing when we're vetting. Like, are you, hey client, hey buyer, hey installer, are you a lead generator? Are you a marketing and advertising, or are you a call center that can then turn those sales calls into into signed contracts?
Are you in the know on compliance? Are you in the know on the legality associated with the things in our space that we have to deal with on a daily basis?
Yep.
Like first party consent, a 1-to-1 TCPA language that's coming up at the beginning of the new year.
Big changes coming at the first quarter.
Yeah, and even managing, we've had companies that don't even manage their duplicates. They're large, multi-state operations and the roofing, windows, all these spaces, but like how have they operated? It's like they have one of those old Rolodexes you just spin, like how,
Well, let's talk about that just for a second. That's something we've been big on for a long time is like we talk about duplicates and, optimizing. Well, we have some clients that their setup is a direct post. Their setup is they're using certain tools, and I don't want to say they're hacked together, but they're very simple. Like we send a lead, they accept it, and they work it. And by working it, they send it to the call center. Well, some of those tools out there are not set up to analyze. They're just set up to receive. So if they're receiving the same lead 2, 3, 4 times, either from us or from multiple companies, they don't know, and they're paying for that. So that's a wasted budget on their side. So what we did, or Chris did, is we found that out. We're like, hey, you want to talk about what you did?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
fix that for him.
You're getting me excited to talk about something that I got to play with. So, no, I remember the email thread. It was along the lines of, you guys are able to handle dupes for us. We just pay for those because that's what everybody else charges us, right? And Kenny, you and I talked about this. It's like,
you asked me like, hey, well, how do they handle duplicates? And I contacted
them. It was
them.
like 2 to 3%, right? They said of their lead volume was duplicates, and they can't use those leads.
Yeah, they said, well, we're buying them multiple times. We're sending them to our call center, and then our call center reps are realizing that they're duplicates, and they'll just note it down. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's a waste of money.
For sure.
For the cash up front, let alone the man hours that they're doing. And they just accepted it. And we're like, bud, we can fix that. But like, give us a couple days and we'll...
I was going to say, this goes into everything that we're talking about here. We're a concierge service, and we understand that good business is mutual business.
Yeah, it's not a set it, forget it. It's a optimize over time. What is the problem? A lot of these things that popped up, like we asked them about that. We brought that up. So technically that's less dollars in our pocket because we went out of our way to optimize how we are working together, which helps their company out.
Yeah, so another takeaway from that, Kenny, is, so we, for this particular client, and actually at that time we had like 3 different clients that had the same exact problem. And I looked at that and I thought this is an opportunity for us to add value to working with us. Right. And at the bottom line, that adds to your ROI. You're going to have a better return on investment if we're not trying to squeeze every dime out of you. Yep. We want it to perform, and we want our clients to have success, right?
Yeah. We hold ourselves to a higher standard. And yes, that helps our clients out. Yes, it's going to help them stay with us because we look better. But that's a better working relationship day to day when we talk to them.
It just makes all these other third-party companies look more like your low-end hoopty car versus a Bugatti, right? Like, these companies just kind of sell things that they're not doing themselves, whereas we're the concierge service. It's luxury, right? We're Gucci stacks, man. Like, Seriously,
You're
we
getting
work hard.
that custom service. Yeah.
And it sounds silly to say sometimes, maybe a little full of ourselves, but the reality is the situation is we understand that a lot of clients have just been dealing with these problems. They haven't actually gotten solutions. And I think that at the end of the day, like we were saying, like we take a lot of pride in what we do. Like we're not a bank. We don't give companies these huge payment terms. And a lot of companies they might struggle with that. But the reality of the situation is when you step up into the big leagues, we have costs on our side. And we're not a bank. We're a high-end service running high-end business, and we foot a lot of our bills up front. We rely on kind of our margin to fuel our business, and it's such an important part of what we're doing that like the companies that accept that there's a certain way that we work, those are the companies that have a lot of success. Give us the flexibility to use our tools, and we'll make sure that you get good business. We've focused a lot on the clients so far. I kind of want to pivot at this point to Chris. We talked a little bit about a high level of what we offer lead buyers, but can you kind of go into what we offer media buyers, kind of what you've built to help them optimize?
This is a great pivot in the conversation. The affiliates that we work with, I come, my background is technical, but I have helped a lot of affiliates, and I know what affiliates need to succeed. I also know what happens when you have a bad apple that comes in and just completely wrecks things for the good affiliates. So we have positioned every tool, every service, every value add that we can offer to an affiliate to set them up for success. And this ranges from a close buddy of mine that just wanted to get into affiliate marketing recently. We've done a lot of hand-holding, and he thanks us every time we talk to him because we just help him with getting his campaigns going. We help him with the messaging that he should experiment with. We even give him content, right? You guys recorded some videos recently to run ads to test and experiment with.
And a huge network of buyers. Shameless plug.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to throw that in there. I love that, Jerry, you really put this forward out into the space, which is we give everybody a unique URL, but the correction here is we give everybody a domain. That will help with the isolation, giving our affiliates and media buyers almost like your own brands, like it really will help tremendously in when you go out and advertise the domain that we give you versus us catching all the reward for you promoting our domains that we own.
Well, it's cohesiveness, right? Like that's the word of the day for a lot of these media buyers is cohesiveness. And, from my perspective of doing everything from the ghostwriting for the people running the traffic to being, the facilitator of different offers for publishers on a network role to now everybody has their own website. I was talking a little bit earlier about how I forced Chris to do work right before this.
Yeah.
The reality of the situation is, a lot of these companies are built up in a way that's just like, hey, give this media buyer a link and just let them go swimming. Yeah. Kick them into the pool as a little toddler, right? Like throw them right into the sharks. But, we do a lot on our end, with custom postback placement. With these custom domains. Sorry for the overstatement on URLs.
That's all.
Change up.
That's all good.
Letter here and there, but
that's just it though. It's a custom custom domain. So one of the benefits is the media buyers that we work with or affiliates, publishers, whatever you want to call. They're like you said earlier, they're constantly testing new content, new ads, A/B testing. It's not just I'm gonna set what did we talk about recently? I'm not gonna send out a branded, branded type ad and just run it for a month straight. They're constantly trying new things. And by having a unique domain, which is a unique URL, when they're on their ad platforms, you're constantly talking to these guys, when they're on their ad platforms, to the ad platform, let's just say Facebook, that's theirs. Like they get that unique domain, they get the unique performance.
We can verify DNSs.
Yes, we have a lot of these tools in place that you've set up for us and for our clients on the downside of things that are running the ads. The performance is huge that they want to test. So a lot of people, are used to being, like you said, kind of thrown into the mix. If we have somebody that comes to work with us in order to send media and traffic to us, if you do the more traditional affiliate networking stuff that a lot of places do, they're going to give you a link to send your traffic to. But that link has a lot of history with other bad actors, even good actors. So they are basically stepping into a room that's already populated,
Well,
good or bad. Whereas
they'll have 99 problems, but the domain ain't one.
Exactly. Right. So if that domain has a lot of bad actors on it, that's advertising, Facebook is going to be like, oh, well, you're running traffic to that ad or to that company, or you're running. So basically, Facebook or these media platforms have all these history, good and bad, and says, you're now stepping into that mix. Whereas the way we do it, it's like, no, you're your own entity. You are unique. If you make this work and you're a rock star, somebody else isn't going to drag you down.
Well, and third parties, people that don't own and operate their own websites, people that don't have these awesome connections with companies and media buyers, they just can't offer that.
No, they can't.
You're going to have a link with redirects. You're going to raise your cost on Facebook or whatever platform you're advertising. We do thousands of ads on Facebook every day. So that's the one we talk about the most, we understand. But the reality situation is there's just a lot of value added, opportunities working with us versus working with a lot of companies. And that's, I always talk about it, but it's the, the experience, the tips and tricks, the tools that we've implemented. We have custom statistics that we can add to anybody's meta campaigns on Facebook to give them more visibility. We talk a lot about Thumbstop. We talk a lot about all these other things that create value.
Optimize their campaigns.
Yeah, I talk to media buyers. I'm on podcasts all the time, and the reality of the situation is what I'm learning is the information, while it seems like information overload to just kind of give everybody these tools, is you're empowering people. Yeah. Like I would say one of our big things, and I've said this a million times so far, is we help companies make more money but be responsible for less. Yeah. And it all goes back to our lead generators get that value, and also our media buyers. Like a media buyer doesn't have to go make a website. They don't have to find all these clients. Right. They focus on what they do best, and it's a full-time job.
Yeah, and all these tools, all these tips, all these tricks, all these optimizations that we are providing, we are creating, and we are setting up for the media buyers to run ads. These are all things that our buyers and our clients and our up the line path, they don't have to do on a regular basis.
Or they
don't
hire
have to whole department.
Entire department.
Exactly.
You've got
that's a lot.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
4 or 6 figure.
Yeah.
That they don't have to do. They can offload that responsibility to us. That's our specialty. That's what we've been doing for 10 years. 10 years lead specifically, plus however many else, like you said, all your content writing. I mean, your technical background in and outside of lead generation.
This guy worked with Nike, with Twilio, with all these companies.
Google, Accenture.
This experience.
Small names. But, we wear a lot of hats with a very small team. We move quickly. We're flexible. We're dynamic.
So another thing about the domain that I wanted to say earlier is you aren't supposed to advertise an affiliate link on these big ad platforms. You have to have some intermediary step before you can introduce an affiliate link. But with our domains, you don't need it. The domain is yours. All conversions on that domain are attributed to you.
Let's talk a little bit about those sites too. They're highly optimized.
Yeah.
Chris says they're smooth like ghee, which to some of you people out there, that's clarified butter. It's pretty smooth.
It's quality.
Yeah, quality. Chris, you've implemented a lot of technology, but what are the average conversion rates that you see on the funnels on some of these traffic sources?
The baseline is 20%. When the traffic is right, when the ads are right, and honestly, let's define traffic, right? So the ads are right, you have the right engagements, you get the right demographic or the right audience on the funnel. 20% is what is signing up, and that might deviate up or down depending on the flow of someone's attention.
20% of the signups turn into appointments for our buyers.
No, well, you're talking about the
Media buyers.
Okay.
you're talking about the submission, right? The submission.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I know 20% is
1 in 5.
thanks, Jerry. No, what I was going to say is that if you're not achieving around 20%, it could be the offer, but it's unlikely because our best affiliates are they're really close to 20%. Sometimes they're a little under. They might be at like 18% for a week or 2 weeks, but then they'll peak, they'll spike up, and it will be over 20%. So people will fill out the form. That's not the issue.
And that's a great point. Not all leads sell, right?
Yeah.
So you might be getting a 20% lead submission, but maybe you're not targeting the right areas.
Yeah.
Or working into these figures. Maybe it didn't sell to a specific buyer for, various reasons. It could be a duplicate. It could have too much shade on the roof if you're in the solar space.
Yeah.
Maybe their electric bills aren't high enough, which I highly doubt, or they're not in the solar space is a specific example with the right electric company. But these problems, they persist on everything we do.
Yeah.
So buyers, they want specifically, and so obviously this plays into the lead buyer side, asking us questions, kind of filling out our understanding of where they want to be. But even media buyers, they need to understand that, like if it's a home improvement offer, the ads that are targeting homeowners looking for those improvements is more important than just saying, hey, we got, for lack of a better word, a lot of free shit to give people. And the reality of the situation is, when you take all that into consideration, you can optimize your campaigns, optimize everything for the lead buyers, and get paid more. We manage all that communication, obviously, on our end. But it is important to kind of bring this back around to understand that not every lead is a good lead. Not every lead is a lead that you, A, want to generate, or B, that you want to buy.
Yep.
For like example, windows. A lot of our clients want people to buy as many windows as they can.
Yeah, some of our buyers have minimums. Like they want, what's the minimum amount that's worth our client's time to sell that lead, and then to actually send a salesman out to that home. Like we finally believe it's anywhere from like 3 to 5 windows that need replaced. A lot of our clients, they don't want somebody that's just, I got a broken window, can you come fix the pane? Like that's not our specialty. We're not a this old home, with
Bob Vila.
Yeah, I don't know if we could actually say that, but
We'll
that's not our.
that
Right.
I'm okay. He sounds like a cool guy. Maybe he needs home improvement leads too. I ain't gonna tell a guy what he can and can't do. That's not my business.
I used to watch his show. My dad was a carpenter, and so for years and years and years, so I've learned a lot of the stuff that we work in the verticals, before we even started doing leads. So it's kind of neat.
That is a good point. I would say one of the biggest issues is, it's a big world out there, right? It's not necessarily an issue, but like unfortunately, even people in the United States are terrible at geography, it seems. But if you're outside of the country, you might not understand all these factors that figure into like leads. Like a good example of this is, the company Astrafuse is based in Austin, Texas. Well, in Wichita, for example, you might only see shingles, right?
Wichita, Kansas, by the way.
Yeah, Wichita, the land of the yellow brick roads, and but no, the reality is like even a vertical like roofing, there's different types of shingles, right? And some companies only do specific products. Maybe like you're like, well, I hit the state of Kansas, but most people don't know that most of Kansas is BFE, right? There's nothing there. And, unless you're targeting the right areas, like the big metropolitan areas, you might wonder why, hey, I'm getting all these leads, but they're not selling.
Yeah, because and we'll work with, that's one of the things that we optimize and problem solve is, where are our buyers? Where do they have salesmen at? Where do they have install crews at? Let's filter out the places you're not at.
Yeah.
If you have to drive for one lead or one sale way out somewhere, like maybe we take that zip code coverage and remove it from your list. Let's help optimize that. And that's something that we are good on. But this also goes back to earlier, we talked about disposition reports and getting the feedback from our buyers, because we're not making direct contact with the leads. So we need that feedback so we can do our job and optimize what we're doing to then optimize what you. And that's why they call it a feedback loop. leads go to you. You give us details. We give you more details to help optimize to make your ROI, your back out rate better.
Yeah, it helps us get what's working, more of what's working in your hands. So if you have leads in a specific zip code and our media buying is getting that area, we want to amplify that. We want to send more of that to you, but we can only do it if you're measuring it and able to tell us exactly where those areas are. And we had one sophisticated buyer that had the ability to tell us a lot of things about performance, but where they fell short is they couldn't tell us what zip codes were performing the best. It was like just stats for the entire state, and it fell apart. Like we had to get more laser focus. Like I think we used the analogy of a shotgun blast versus a sniper rifle, and the client wanted to circle back around to running ads with us with a sniper rifle instead of a shotgun blast. So
and I will say, that wasn't, I wouldn't even say that's really our issue, because we just weren't informed on what was going on their back end. But this is something that's persisted across all of their clients, right? And we're not the only client they worked with, but we're the one that they felt the most comfortable having the conversation with.
Bringing it up to us and saying, hey, what can we do, or what are you guys doing? So we gave them tips, we gave them tricks, we gave them optimization ideas. And then we also went back ourselves and said, well, what can we do differently? Well, let's talk to them more often. Let's really push for that feedback loop, which they were open to talking and chatting, but really talking to them, having a conversation in a manner that's getting that detail. Because if you don't have the details, you can't optimize, or you can't optimize as well. And if you're not optimizing, you're not your back out rates, your ROI, your profit is not going to be where you want it to be. Or even if it's good, make it better. Like, again, I'm a table guy. If there's money on the table, put it in your pocket.
Yeah, let's continue to improve, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can always improve. You can be the best. You can be great at something and still improve.
Right.
Like great athletes, they still practice. They're the best for a reason, and it's because they continue to grow and get better at what they do.
What am I doing? What can I do better?
Yep.
I'm doing that better now. What else can I do better? That's the conversations we try to have, and these are some of the expectations. That goes back to what you said earlier. Well, what are our best clients? What are our best fits? What kind of companies are our best fit to work with us? Well, they're the companies that have not just expectation as I want the great leads. Well, awesome. We have great leads. What are you doing? What can you give me after a week of traffic, after a week of receiving our leads? What kind of feedback can you get so then I can optimize? A lot of companies out there that we get on board, that we have these sales calls, like they're very similar to when I used to knock on doors and they'd be like, oh, great, another sales guy or another lead generator. And I'm like, okay, you're going to take this with a grain of salt. I get it. But I realize you've been burned by other lead generators. We get that. We hear that all the time. Some of our best clients started out the conversation looking at us like, why am I on a phone call with you? We're on a video call talking to them, and they start off all uptight. They're like, hey, I've already been burned. I really don't want to do this. But 30 minutes later, they're like, guys, this sounds really good. I appreciate how you do this. As long as you follow through with what you're saying that you can do and you want to do to optimize, like, this is going to work. And that was 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago on some of these guys, and we're still working with them. Like, they like the way we do things because we are intentional with it. We want to be optimized. We want to have that long-term working, not just doing work, but working relationship, because it is working. It's working out for them. It's working out for us. It's good for them.
I have an improv question.
Space. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys, this is an improv question.
Oh, okay.
Just random thought hearing you talk through that. But I'm curious, Kenny, you did sales for previous organizations. You're doing sales for us now. At any of the places you've worked, have you ever purchased a list of leads?
I didn't purchase. Some of the companies did. Like the roofing companies, we would get warm leads every once in a while. But, and they were great. Some of them were great. Some of them, like, you'd knock on the door, I'd have we have an appointment set, and they'd be like, oh, what's going on? Who are you? I don't want to talk to you. I've already talked to 10 other guys. And then other ones, talked to this one because they set an appointment. Great, got the call, or didn't call. It didn't work out. They didn't need our services. But then I go and hit the neighbors up. So there's ways to optimize that, just like I would do when I was knocking doors, trying to sell roofs after storms, or just whatever it was, we would go then talk to the neighbors. Hey, we're talking to Bob Vila down the road, your neighbor, how's your roof look like, or whatever it is. And you can do similar stuff like that with these advertising, because again, if we're getting the feedback from the buyers that say, hey, the last X number of leads that came from this zip code really worked. Cool. Thanks for that info. We then go back to our publishers, and that's what you were doing this morning. You were optimizing the zip list because we have feedback from buyers that say the leads that are coming in from this media source, from this publisher, from this advertiser in this zip code, here's all the metrics that you need. Give me more of those.
Yeah, let's
pump
amplify.
the jam, pump it up.
Right. And some of the stuff like Red Tracker, Facebook, a lot of the details that we set on the technology side that then give, just like we need feedback and disposition reports from our buyers, so do the ad platforms.
Yes.
That's how.
Let's take
like
a step back. We really only work with a small handful of clients. Like, that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
And that's not like every single person we do is a ace media buyer for solar. Some of them are ace media buyers for other things, and they're just, trying to do their best with us, as we're managing spend, we're managing clients. We've managed hundreds of $millions of ad spend. We've made companies hundreds of millions of dollars. I would even beg to venture in the billions.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for nearly my lifetime between the three of us. And, that's one of those things that I think is kind of a rarity in the industry is you got a lot of fly-by-night companies out there. You got a lot of people you can't trust, and this goes back to what we were saying about, the cogs in the wheel, maybe the dregs in your coffee, right? We're all coffee enjoyers over here. If, we were to take this back to like a personal place, like all of that crap in the space has made it a lot more difficult for us to do our job, and this kind of leads into one of the things that I was thinking about is like, where do you guys see the industry going in the next 10 years? Like not only positioning our company, but the entire industry as a whole, and kind of what challenges do you foresee us facing in the future that we're going to have to overcome? And then, like, how will that affect our clients on both ends?
Oh, I've got something for you. This is going to be a fun one for you, Jerry. So AI is just going bonkers right now. Everybody is on this AI bandwagon, but we have direct feedback from people that are really good at what they do. So first thing is sales, right? Like, thinking that you're going to have an AI tool do sales for you, you're insane. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You still have to do the work. Like,
people want to see your pretty face.
They think it's a set it and forget it with AI.
Yeah. So then I have a technical background, and people are like, well, you can build apps with AI. Yeah, you can. But are they as good as the ones that are built from hand or by hand? No.
Or people getting that, what do they call it? It might not quite apply, but like the uncanny valley. It's like if they're getting messages from AI, people know. Like they feel that. I know I do. I'm like, is this AI? Is this a person? And like, if you have the doubt, that's doubt. Like, you don't want any of that negativity, any of those little roadblocks with your customers.
Yeah.
You want that personal touch.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why, like, even as a small team, we're still worlds better than somebody who's got some automated solution.
Yeah.
We've worked with clients who have completely retooled their entire sales operations, cost themselves tens of $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, that they're having to recoup because they put too many eggs in one basket.
Yeah. And it sounded great. Like when they came to us, they're like, we do this with AI, we do that, and we're like, hey, love the idea of that. And then a while later, they're like,
several months down.
And they're not only buying leads from us, so we know that it's kind of this is just the way it works out. Like, yeah, those things help. They help the fringe. This person might not have been a good buyer. This lead might not have been you can kind of save some of those fringe guys. Like, this one might not have sold, or that one might not have sold, sure. But on the day-to-day, having that personal touch, like, it's knowing, like, okay, somebody built this, it's good, versus is that AI, and having that negative connotation to it.
So to bring it back to what you were talking about, Jerry, like AI, there's a time and place for it, and where it's at today, it is impressive. I cannot believe the stuff it produces. Like, I use AI, but I don't rely on AI. Like, I know how to do the work. I have the foundation for my role
It's a great way to say it.
in my expertise for this business, right?
Right.
But the thing that is going to affect us for the next 5-10 years, you're going to have this huge adoption of AI. A lot of people are going to get burned by AI. They're going to be so sour about AI. But the companies that are innovating on AI, it's going to get better. And you can't you can't avoid the elephant in the room. AI is here to stay, and it's going to get better. In 5 years, it's just going to be that much better, right? Like, technology just grows at a rapid rate.
Do you expect like the FTC and all these regulatory bodies to have some sort of response to AI? Like auto dialing used to be a huge deal.
They already have. They've already responded to, like,
Yeah.
you can't auto dial with robotic
Yeah.
voices. Like,
So do you expect the same kind of thing to happen with AI?
no, I think it's going to be industry specific. So you're like medical, for example, or like insurance or anything financial, highly regulated. There's only going to be certain use cases that can be used. But then you have everything else where it's like fair game. And I think that's where like the AI companies are really pushing the envelope. But there's like some, I don't want to be doom and gloom about it, but there's going to be some bad experiences with AI. And it's going to be companies that don't rely strictly on AI to like get through and kind of repair that relationship with AI. There's a time and place for it, right? There's a tool for every job that makes that job easier, and there is a time and place to use AI to solve the problem. You just can't look at AI as something that's going to solve everything.
Right,
It's not an instant fix, but it's not something you can just say, "Oh, I got this. Make me money."
Yeah.
Like, it needs to be a supplement. It's a tool you need.
Well,
you need to know the tool and
Yeah.
when to use it, but when not to rely on it.
Yep.
Well, you're adding an intermediary, right? You're adding another thing that can break.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what we go back to, and obviously, kind of repivot the conversation back to this thought process is one of the things that I think is going to happen in the industry. One of the directions I think it's going is I think slowly, the industry is going to phase out third-party vendors.
Oh, absolutely. So that's another great talking point is with all the complaints with companies selling aged leads or scraping, like just scraping
Scraping
personal
was
data,
huge
or
5 years ago.
leaked data breaches too.
What is scraping? Just real quick, just so people.
So scraping would be like having automated tools. Or let's call them robots, right? Like
Yeah.
digital robots that are going out on the internet and finding public listings and just downloading information. So if you're on LinkedIn, chances are your personal data, your contact info, it might just be for work, but that has been downloaded somewhere and
Leaked.
And now you're part of that 800,000 or whatever it is million.
Yep.
Or aged list.
Yeah, and actually kudos to Facebook because they actually made this a lot harder. It used to be really easy to leverage Facebook to validate data. You can't do it like you used to. But LinkedIn, it's a prospecting tool for so many businesses that it's really easy to get contact info. It might be limited to your email or just your LinkedIn profile, but there are so many different people that reach out to us saying, "I have leads for you," and like most of those leads that are being offered to me, they're scraped. Like they're
Well, right, or they're just bogus,
yeah,
bullshit data
yeah,
that they're just passing along. And I think, we're going to see a lot of these large companies that are selling those reports, those data records, they're going to go by the wayside.
yeah,
They really are. And not to throw any sticks or stones, but there's a lot of large companies that provide home improvement leads, solar leads, home security leads, and they're resold, up to 7 times with some of the people that we know,
yeah,
pretty closely. And not only is the lead quality there defunct, like when the 1-to-1 consent comes on, there's no way that these companies are going to be able to operate the same way that they're operating now.
Well, the funny thing about that, Jerry, is the companies will still operate that way until somebody is slapped with a lawsuit and a violation, and there's a huge fine associated with it. So yeah, like right now, I think people that are in it for the long haul, they are going to make the changes to adapt to the new rules. But then you have the companies that have enough or like their pockets are deep enough where they can afford to sustain through a big lawsuit. They're just going to operate as is, and somebody's going to be made an example of.
Well,
right?
the problem is, at the end of the day, this all goes back to like why people should work with us, right? Is because, those big third-party companies, they're going to churn and burn, right?
Yep.
So if you're a media buyer, you're going to get stiffed on a six-figure payment.
Yep.
If you're a lead buyer, you're going to get hit with a huge lawsuit. And a lot of that is the lack of communication and the lack of transparency that people get when they work with us. So, I think that as a whole, our company is positioned in a great way to succeed in the future. And I think that a lot of companies that want to have kind of a tighter process are going to want to work with us over the long run.
So there are a lot of people are in the know in our industry. Some people aren't. So the TCPA, the new rules, new laws that are coming into effect first of the year for 2025, they are requiring certain things. And then those changes that in order to stay compliant will require the technology to function differently than the industry that we are in, the lead generation industry, and then the lead buying side of things, or like our clients are on. It's going to require them to make changes, and those aren't going to be. Some of those are going to cause some problems. So
they're going to be
Chris,
very expensive.
Yeah. So Chris, what are some of the things that we are seeing in the industry as far as people that are trying to spearhead the technology to be compliant, but to make money with that compliancy?
Yeah, there's no simple answer to this question.
No,
but I will say it's fucked right now.
Yeah, it was a trick question I set you up.
Yeah, because there are different decisions being made. There are different tactical approaches to it. Yeah. One is you have to be transparent about the lead, like the customer's information, which means the single consent will only work if we know exactly where that lead is going to. So we have to give a lot more transparency of the consumer data, which I have concerns because there are bad actors that will steal information. And I respect people's privacy. Like the consumers that are coming through our funnels, we are in a way a data handler. So we need to be very cautious about how we share that information.
We are liable based from the federal government to handle that data in a certain way and to be responsible. And a lot of our buyers see that, and they know that,
yes,
and they trust us with that.
Yes.
Well, that's the exclusivity that we allow these clients to have, I think.
Yeah.
Well, the issue here is because of the way that these lead marketplaces work and the way lead brokers work, it requires transparency on both sides.
That we don't see that a lot in the industry right now.
Our industry is very traditionally, everybody keeps things close to the chest. They don't want to share where things are coming from and where things are going. But that's one of the things that the TCPA, what everybody's just coining the one-to-one consent, is that you do open that up. Like that's the new requirement. Is like when a customer comes to for any forms to fill it out and say, yeah, I want to be contacted, there's that submit button, but right above that submit button, according to the laws and requirements, it has a TCPA disclosure statement will in the first year require that the customer see and be actively approving who's going to contact them.
Yeah.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah. And traditionally, it wasn't that way. It was just, the law was, it just said, yeah, you are agreeing to be contacted. Sometimes people would say X number of times, or just say you agree to be contacted for this type of sales call.
And that was via link out, right? So companies could just list thousands of businesses and maybe not even be contacted by anybody on that.
The law said you had to have a list of companies that might potentially contact them, but it didn't need to be in that paragraph.
Yeah.
Like you could link out to another page with a huge list, but now it's like, no, it needs to be in there. And that requirement is some of the things that we are seeing some of these tech companies, these lead gen companies try to spearhead themselves, and some of them are conflicting. So I think you mentioned like we're going to try to implement multiple types of.
We have to. So to the reality for us is we have to be able to integrate multiple ways. That requires relying on our technology partners, the software vendors that we work with to provide the software that enable us to do what we do. They have to make changes on their side that are flexible with all of these changes that are coming down the pipeline. We have some lead buyers that operate like a lead broker, and I happily exchange information with them because they've been so good to us
Yeah.
that there's trust. But then there are other companies that I'm concerned. Like, I don't know that I want to be transparent with them. So there needs to be something else that protects both sides and the consumer at the same time.
Yeah.
And I mean, do we want to talk about the sit back?
I mean, there's a few options coming down the pipeline. I don't, it's hard to line up what everybody's going to use and what solutions are going to be. And I've heard of several solutions, but we don't know how viable any of them are.
Yeah.
I think the key takeaway here is that in a lot of the other stuff we talked about, we set ourselves up in a way to be able to pivot, to be able to be open to certain clients, their needs.
Well, we say it all the time, man. In Chris, we trust.
Yeah.
In Jerry, we trust.
Right. So
In Kenny, we trust.
and
We all
it's-
have an
Yes.
important
right.
role
Full
to play.
circle.
But we purposely set our company up to be able to pivot, to be able to have, custom solutions to problems. Whereas a lot of companies that we work with or that are on the same position as us, like they're like, this is what we do, that's all we do. If it doesn't fit, no. Well, I get that, and sometimes that's needed, but we are setting ourselves up on a technology front, and a lot of it is because you are able to do that, Chris, and you have the ability to, whatever. If there's 2 different implementation technologies, if there's 3, like, we're going to be able to have multiple ways to do it. That way, if we have an end buyer that does have a big tech, they're a large company, they have a huge call center, they have their standard way in order to be compliant with the new laws, and they're like, this is what we do. If you can't do that, we can't work with you. We want to be able to do that. So if one company does it one way and they can't budge, whether it's preference or just legal reasons, or legal team can say, no, we're doing it this way to be as safe as we can. Cool, we got you.
Well,
Other people are doing it. Well, we chose to go this route in the technology and then compliance. Well, cool, we got you too. Like, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to set ourselves up to be a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
well, we might not look like it, on the camera. Well, we're pretty agile fellas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the advantages of being a smaller team, a smaller company, is we're not this massive enterprise that, like, one little change requires a lot of training, like updates to SOPs. Like, our SOPs they're light and nimble that allow us to move around and pivot. Kenny, how often do I tell you, like, so I trained you how to do integrations this way, but now you need to do it another way. Like,
Oh yeah, because
all
there's
the
different
time.
requirements. Like,
Yeah.
you might use the same technology, but it's a different, different service or a SaaS or whatever different API, technology that they're utilizing. Well, they're all a little bit different. They all kind of have their own nuances. Well,
That's a good segue at this point is, we do focus a lot on the lead itself. We don't really focus on calls so much. That doesn't mean we're not going to pivot in the future, but each of those carries their own unique requirements with legality and understanding the law and how you contact customers. If you're receiving calls, are you receiving inbound calls? Are you receiving transfers?
Right.
Where are those calls coming from? Where is your call center? What is your process? I'm going to say this again. I've said it a million times. We help companies make money, but also be responsible for less because we understand all these things.
Yeah,
we take
those responsibilities on, and we own them.
Yeah, exactly. And just to kind of wrap it up here is like that's one of the huge reasons that people work with us is we provide a lot of high-tech options with no setup fees. We don't require companies to bend over backwards to work with us. We do have some requirements that we need. We have some things that help us operate our business, like, finding, mutually beneficial payment cycles, stuff like that. But, when you work with us, you get a lot of bells and whistles that make up for any of those hurdles, right? So fewer worries with first party leads, a concierge service of dispositions and reporting. We pride ourselves on running good mutual business. And, we do everything in-house. How many companies can say that? They don't buy leads from anybody. They generate their own leads.
Right.
They work on a lot of these marketing platforms that are really expensive and really convoluted. They give people technology options with, whether they're buying the media or are buying the leads. We have technology to make sure that it works with their specific business. And that all starts with the website, and it goes all the way down the line to all the services we use. We incorporate our lead management platforms, our click management platforms, and even, down to the specific level of identifying what sources provide the best ROI for these companies to really maximize their costs. Another buzzword in the industry is their KPIs.
Yeah.
So what are their sales backing out to? Where are they coming from? And how can we help? And I think that that's one of the huge things that companies need to understand when they work with us, whether they're buying the media or we're selling their media, or the companies are making sales off of us. We're not omnipotent. We don't understand every single thing that everybody's going to say. We can't read people's minds, but I'll be damned if we don't try our hardest.
Yeah.
We do a lot of things really, really well. We're a small team, but we've compartmentalized ourselves over the years to really be good at what we do in ways that are cohesive for good business in a future, just say, worry-free kind of fashion for the future. You're not going to be
more assured.
Yeah,
quality.
we talked to a company just the other day that was like, hey, eventually we want to move to our farms, and we're like, hey, good luck with that, but until we get there, we've got you covered. And it's important, for us, obviously, to be able to do that for people. But everybody that we work with, I think deep down, I would like to believe they appreciate all of the hard work that we put into their business for them to succeed.
Yep.
And we take a small cut. I'm proud to say, that's our living, right? But at the end of the day, it's well worth it for everybody that we work with, because we really do go the extra mile, provide zip lists, provide pricing, work with clients. A lot of the clients, and this is something media buyers probably don't even understand because they've never done it, is, we don't even get pricing specs from a lot of these third-party aggregates because they don't know.
Yeah.
So we have to collect data, manage data. We have robust data systems that we utilize with our media buying teams.
Yeah. Well, we will optimize those pricing costs on a per client basis. I mean, that's one of the things we constantly try to do, in addition to the disposition and the feedback, is we want to provide you, and we want to come together to figure out, what's working in this area. Is this area working better than the other area? Well, maybe lower the price in the other area a little bit and increase your price over here to win more of those leads, to capture more of those leads that are coming in real time, because maybe you got a better sales team in that area. Maybe your turnaround time for your physical products, you're able to get it out there quicker because of shipping. That's something we can take into account.
Or even permit approval, like solar. That's a big topic, right? Like if you're selling solar, I saw this survey in one of the solar groups, and it had to do with which state, I think it was based on, what state has the best turnaround time for permit approval.
One of our clients
or even
directly
PPAs.
told us that.
Yeah, PPAs versus just loan approval, right?
Yeah.
So you either get the money up front or you get it at zero cost down or whatever. There's just so many little bells and whistles that go into it.
Yeah, our leads can work for virtually anybody. They just need the right process and systems to call the leads, not just once, but multiple times. I can speak to this from firsthand experience. I requested a quote for something recently. This company, I really wasn't looking to sign up for that service, but I wanted to see what was on the other side. They have been relentless about calling me. And honestly, I have doubts because they try so hard to contact me. Maybe I will take that call just to hear what they have to offer.
I mean, that was just
Get your
last
free
week.
toaster.
Yeah,
It's an Amazon gift card.
Yeah, you hit us up in our group text message. You're like, guys, I was trying to find some more information, and their outreach process is amazing.
It is.
Yeah,
it was impressive.
And I was watching, the text come in between you two, and it's they're on the ball. Their outreach multiple times a day. Their messaging is good, and that's what we look for also when we're onboarding our clients.
Mm-hmm.
What is your outreach? How often do you make contact per day? What technologies are you using? Is it only phone calls? Are you calling and sending a text and sending an email? Are you doing it for 1 day, 2 days? What does that look like? Because depending on your current setup, and maybe even more importantly than current setup, what are you capable of? What are you willing to do?
Yeah.
Because if you're calling 2 or 3 times a day, if you need to, for only 1 or 2 days, you're not going to get as many sales, get as many people.
Yeah.
We have some people that, make call attempts for 10 days every single day, multiple times, with a text message, with an email.
Well, yeah. I mean, in the same vein as Adam Sandler and Billy Madison, it's just like the puppy who lost its way. You don't call a customer once or twice and call it quits. No, you get your ass out there and you get a hold of that client.
I mean,
At the end of the day, that's what it's about, is being tenacious and understanding that, like we've said multiple times, the industry is wrought with bad actors.
Yep.
People that are taking advantage of the system, people that aren't generating the leads, customers aren't even going through the funnel, and that's what caused this situation. So for people to be successful, they really have to be tenacious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They really have to be tenacious.
I mean, how many clients, when we get on a sales call with the potential client or buyer, that's some of the stuff we're asking, because they're vetting us, but we're also need to vet you guys. Like, we need to make sure that our way, our metrics, our performance is a good match for you. So if your sales call process is set up well, then that's better. Like, when we get on a phone call and somebody says, we do this, we do this, we do that this many times, I'm just like, like, this is a home run. Like, we know that our traffic, our metrics is a great fit for you. Your expectations are right in line with what we see works for our clients.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah. So we asked this question earlier, Kenny, about who our ideal customer is. And you mentioned the ability to call and work the leads, but really, like, our ideal customer, they're in sales. Like, they understand sales. They know it's a numbers game. You have to contact the leads. You have to continue to nurture and build trust. Solar is our flagship, vertical, right? But a solar install, you're not, unless you do it yourself, you're not going to get it done under 15K. Like, that's on the low end, right? It's probably more like 30 to 50 grand.
Well, most of these services that we sell are expensive products.
Yeah.
I think the outliers are probably gutters and water filtration. But, I mean, even windows, they're $600, $700 a window.
Yeah.
A roofing project could be as much as, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. These are customers that you really have to win over. I said it at the beginning, I'll say it again, there's a lot of competition in the space. And you got to find a leg up as, a company. And unless you work with a company like us, you don't have access to premium media buyers unless you go hire them. And even then, you might brand your ads, you might spend thousands of dollars and not get any results.
Yeah.
So at least what we do is tried and tested and true.
I think a big one for us that a lot of people feel, and I say feel because they do. I mean, the feedback we get is like, they enjoy working with us. Like, I don't know how many times I've said it in my life, but like, the things that you do should be the things that you love, and the things that you love should be the things that you do. Like, I want to go to work and have fun doing what I do. Like, I solve problems, I make connections, and I'm good at those things. That's what we offer. We're problem solving. You need leads, you need sales, we got them. So to me, that's one of the things that I think we excel at, and that people enjoy working with us and spending their time making money with us and having a good time. Because money's great, but at the end of the day, if you're miserable making the money, find something else. And I feel like we are in a position, we've set ourselves up to be there to make that money with our clients, and we have fun doing it. So I think that's kind of that's a big one, and we're good at what we do.
Chris, what would you like to say in a couple of minutes?
Yeah. So if one thing that has come to mind from this discussion, Jerry, is when we work with our clients, they're not just getting another company that sells them leads. They're getting a fractional CTO, a fractional CMO. Kenny, I've been thinking about this. Like, your role right now is director of operations, but you just talked about being a problem solver. So they're getting somebody that is super meticulous, loves the problem solve, is curious.
Yeah. And the nice thing is I get to do it at work, so I can stop solving my wife's problems and just listen to her when I go home. But yeah, that's there's like, I bring a lot to the table. We all bring a lot to the table in different ways, but also in very good overlapping ways.
Yeah.
Because we don't all do the exact same stuff. Like your technical knowledge is huge. It's huge. I'm very technical oriented, but I'm also very meticulous on finding, errors, optimizing, whatever it is. And then that, you also pick up that and you run even more because you have those technical abilities and you've done these things for so long.
Yeah.
Jerry, I say it, I've probably said it hundreds of times, literally, like, you're a fire starter. Like,
Yeah.
you get things done. You find those opportunities for our clients, for ourselves, for the media buyers and the publishers. Like, this is an opportunity. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. And then he comes to us and says, guys, here's opportunities. Or he goes to the buyers. He says, here's opportunities. What can we make work? Because we're not just this is what we do, one thing. We do multiple things. We bring multiple things to the table. We allow our buyers, our clients, and our publishers, anybody that works with us, like, essentially, like you said, they're offloading a lot of their responsibilities and their overhead to us.
Yeah. So I like to think of that as an extension of their company. And this,
Yeah, it's like an external department or like an
this-
agency relationship.
For sure. And this isn't just for our buyers. This is also for our affiliates. So our affiliates, they're not all technical.
No.
It's like a lot of them, in fact, they're very creative.
Yep.
They're like, I don't know how they keep organized, but it's probably chaotic compared to like what we do, right?
I'm about as technical as a teaspoon.
I was just thinking that, like, early on when we started, I mean, we've known each other 10.5 years now. Like, your creative abilities and ideas are amazing, but you didn't have a lot of the eye for the technical stuff early on. But the farther you've gone, like, you're answering questions with their clients on the advertiser buyer side, but also on the publisher side, or making suggestions, like, or even saying, oh, that's not your specialty. Well, I know we can do that because we've done that now
Or just
for years.
Connect the dots.
Yeah,
and
and then,
find
like, let me get
people
you in contact
that fulfill those
with Chris,
needs and
with Kenny,
requirements.
with these other buyers. Like, yeah, we have buyers that can do this or whatever it is. And that's huge, because then people they don't have to spend the time on things that they're not experts in.
Yeah.
Well, and at the end of the day, right, at Astrafuse, you get concierge level care for campaigns, whether you're a media buyer or a lead buyer, right?
Yep.
We provide kind of a one-size-fits-all solution to allow these companies to make more money, but be responsible for less.
Yep.
We take on a lot of the roles and obligations that companies need to truly make money. Without everything that we do, there's a lot of loose cogs in the machine that can cause a lot of issues, and it's important for people to remember that at the end of the day, that when they're buying into any company, that company should provide a sizable return. And if they're not, then you got to question why you're working with them.
Yeah.
If they're just turning around buying leads and slanging them back to you, what are you getting other than a glorified phone book?
Yes.
Like, at the end of the day, like, you need to make sure that when you're spending money, there's going to be a return. And I think all too often people focus solely on the idea of, like, what a lead buyer needs, what these installation companies need. Well, what do media buyers need? Media buyers need reliability. They need offers that they don't have to worry about people who don't have the same regulatory constraints that we have in the United States taking advantage of these opportunities that they have and just running them into the ground. And it's so often understated that these media buyers also have skin in the game. They're spending money. We spend thousands of dollars a day on media, and if we're not getting our return, well, we just burned that money and we have nothing to show for it other than a bunch of pretty ads, right? So at the end of the day, companies really, I don't want to say need to, but they should appreciate what we do for them. The no setup cost is huge. Like, integrating all these systems costs a lot of money.
Because that's less risk for some of these buyers out the gate because they've been burned in the past, and we hear that. So we chose early on to say, we're not going to charge you for the actual setup fee. Like, we hope, and we're going to push that in order to be kind of thing one of the terms we throw around is the statistical significance. Like, if you're going to buy leads from us, you need to have enough skin in the game, whether it's financially or whether it's just, giving it its fair shot. Buy 250 to 500 leads. See how that all works out. Then we optimize. If you buy 10 leads and 5 of them don't work out, 50% you failed. No. Buy a couple hundred leads. You're going to get some sales. Those sales are going to pay for all those leads.
Yep.
And then we keep going.
And then you don't stop. You keep going,
Yeah.
right? You commit to the sample size. You look at the data and you see how it performed, and then you look for the opportunities to improve that process. Salespeople always improve their pitch, their tonality. Like, it's a constant game of improvement. The ads.
Their memes and GIF game.
Oh, yeah. Well, just spend some time with Jerry and your game will have to elevate.
Yeah.
The one guy that was working with us where it didn't elevate,
That was
poor
his
guy.
fault.
Poor guy.
That was all. That was 100% his fault. But realistically, all of these things that we do are often unstated. It's kind of a creditless industry at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We do this because we love it. We do this because we're good at it, and we do this because we sure as hell don't want a day job, right? A 9 to 5 where we're sitting on ass, not getting to innovate or do things that legitimately make a difference. And I'd like to believe I've helped people go solar all over the United States, and I've saved them money on their electric bill, and hopefully helped them feed their families and pay their bills. It's all really rewarding at the end of the day. If you really go back and think about it, it's not just the ones and zeros, because we're dealing with real people doing real things, and we're doing it the right way with a small team that wears a bunch of hats. But
hit us up. We're constantly, Jerry, I don't know how many connections you have on LinkedIn. We're constantly on LinkedIn.
Look for the Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah. We try to stand out because we know we need to be seen. You need to see us. We need to find you. So we're constantly looking for buyers that are a good fit. Facebook, LinkedIn, we're on Slack, we're on Skype, Astrafuse on Skype, and it's Astra, ASTRAFUSE.
That's a good point. I don't know how many people have said Astrafuse.
Yeah.
This isn't the Jetsons.
Yeah, exactly. As awesome as the dog was, I think it was the dog, right?
Yeah, it was a
Astro.
dog.
Yeah.
So is this the cat? Astro.
Yeah.
What's the cat's name?
I don't know. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh, let's keep going.
But yeah, like we're out there. We're constantly trying to make contact with people. So, and I think to kind of go back just a little bit, like to the onboarding process for us, like we're not just going to be through email. We can get you onboarded through email, and that's fine. But we want to jump on a video call. We want